I am the Earth. A poetic tale by Éric Doirot. Riddle. I was born 5 billion years ago. When I was born, I already weighed 6 trillion tons. And although it may surprise you, I'm kind of small. The story I'm about to tell you will seem incredibly exaggerated and sometimes even invented, but it is true. It's the story of my life, the journey of my lives. I was born 5 billion years ago. Try to imagine 5 billion years. A full life of 1,825,000,000,000 days and 6,570,000,000,000 precious seconds in which the slightest vibration of time was inscribed within me. I live an exciting life. I have already traveled insane distances, more than 4,710 million billion kilometers at the design speed of 30,000 kilometers per second. Quite a flash. Funny thing is, I always feel like I'm standing still. Some kind of imaginary journey. When I was little, I already weighed 6 trillion tons. Try to imagine 6 trillion tons. Yet I am one of the smallest among my brothers and sisters. I'm always changing and enjoyable because my colorful skin makes me look like a pretty creature. Have you guessed who I am? I am the Earth, our Earth, your Earth. I am me. Tiny in the universe, finite in infinity. I'm round. Daughter of stars, I kept my heart warm, and the light coat that veils my contours radiates a rich and abundant creative warmth. The oceans are my eyes, the continents are my ears, the abyssal depths are my thoughts, the highest peaks are my conscience. I have been shaped by giants, shaped by their powerful hands, kneaded with infinite patience, created in their image, perfect. I am a concentration of particles, atoms, water, steam, and fire. I have new hopes, endless possibilities, and extensive experience. On my surface, my spirit wanders and travels. Deep inside, I dream, I imagine, and I live. I am the beach. I am all the things and beings that inhabit me. I am the beach where liquid, solid, and gaseous elements meet, embrace and unite. Sea, land, and air. I am a virgin and delicate belly that awakens. The sensitive texture of my skin resembles the countless grains of sand that make up my body. Every day I celebrate new unions in this aquatic limit, where the trembling ripples turn into waves in gurgling sounds. My waves tirelessly roll and curl, glide and hurl themselves over the wet sand, bathed in the fine vapor of my iodized spray. In the air, a soft, subtle scent of dried algae, aquatic moss and multicolored shells mixes with distant scents of vegetation. In the bubbling water, I voluptuously stretch out, gently withdraw and then disappear as I melt into the sand, sculpted into patterns invented by the waves. At the hottest part of the day, I enjoy the sun and allow myself to bask in the warmth of the atmosphere and the wind, my nose lost in the multitude of clouds that sail. At nightfall, I rediscover the sky and its billions of stars, the suns and the planets, the universe and infinity. I remember the countless days and nights, the seasons and years, the wind and the pulsations that peel off the petals of time. I remember that morning. You appeared during a soft, cool dawn and swam towards me, melting into the tears of my eyes, gliding into the wave of my ocean, a traveling shadow in the blue-green. You approached softly, laughing and cackling, with that strident and sharp laugh, so distinctive and pure, a laugh that comes from your soul. You came that morning and all the other ones to help me discover the beauty and sweetness of shared moments. Your spirit was lively and agile, harmonious. You liked to surrender yourself in my waves among the bubbles and the foam that formed at the tip of the crest. Sometimes you would come to rest on my sandy belly and we would have a long chat. Your words were whistling, melodic, and in this music of subtle nuances, you revealed the secrets of your people to me. You told me the incredible story of the fish that emerged from the liquid and adapted to the solid, of the slow transformation of your things into legs, of your new senses, smell and hearing. This mysterious evolution took you out of the seas to conquer new territories, a virgin, primitive, wild and beautiful land. The complexity of your brain and the depth of your thoughts made you the next masters of this world. 1,000 years have passed. Beyond the high mountains and the vast forests that you conquered, in the heart of the green plains where your little ones grew and played, your instinct from the ocean came back. Why evolve if you have to abandon your deep, marine nature, forget who you are and where you come from? Your memory has aroused the memory of the abyssal depths, of your lives full of joys and happiness under the crystal of the oceans. Once again, your species has immersed itself in the liquid to travel backwards. Your flippers reappeared, proof that will is enough to bend destiny. You have kept the breath, the precious air that flows through your lungs from your journey on Earth. You have become magnificent marine and aerial fish. I am the dolphin. You were watching me while laughing. As your story unfolded, small things grew in my mind, my body grew longer, and I became one of you. Once my imaginary transformation was complete, you invited me into the immensity of your oceans, to dive into the colorful iris of my astonished eyes and discover the ocean's currents and the depths. The Milky Way was reflected on the surface of my waves. A vast trail of stars thrown on an anthracite mantle, mirrors glittering on my lapping water, precious bluish diamonds shining eternally. I followed you with confidence, captivated by the regular movement of your dorsal fin in the dynamic wave that extended your body in your vibrations. From time to time, you would turn around and look at me from the corner of your expressive eye, make a friendly clicking sound, then dive deeper into the crystal clear water. Your brothers and sisters are laughing and intelligent dolphins. They are slender, powerful and gentle. Circling around, they have come to join us. We are in deep apnea. Breath suspended, air escapes, little bubbles happily floating through the water. A long time ago, the incredible heat of my birth had melted all my matter, turning me into a glowing, bubbling ball of fire. I was a beautiful baby planet, my chubby cheeks covered with incandescent orange and yellow oceans. I looked great. I was already racing through space at incredible speeds, guided by the bright sun and accompanied by a flock of colorful planets. I had to wait a long time for the cold space to patinate and solidify my surface, for the oceans of fire to freeze into a fragile layer of skin, the Earth's crust. The streams of heat that ran through me were the blood of my life, abyssal rivers that ran through me and made huge jets of lava and steam burst on my surface. I was covered with countless volcanoes, the inevitable inconvenience of my turbulent adolescence and juvenile transformations. Many meteors crashed into me from the confines of space, mingling intimately with my magmatic flesh, dissolving and impregnating me with their precious matter. Their incredible impacts caused waves of unimaginable height on my surface, crystallizing my skin into bumps and hollows, mountains and ocean trenches. Silver comets with plumes of ice came to caress me delicately and to leave countless fine droplets of my primitive oceans on my sensitive skin. In the depths of your marine brain, mysterious magnetic paths drew luminous maps in which every outline and oscillation was a feast for the senses. The more we descended, the darker it became. The more the undulating movements of your streamlined bodies were perceptible, the more the clicking sounds became meaningful. An orange glow appeared under the flowing liquid, a blurred and disturbing illumination forming large yellow, red and bright veins, a flamboyant landscape with complicated ramifications, a kingdom of light at the bottom of the oceans, the entrance to your secret world, the cradle of life. In this deep and distant place, the depths ripped open, uncovering my incandescent flesh to better disturb and illuminate my waters with undulating movements. In the heat of the depths, among the swirls, microscopic cells with unexpected shapes were born, were living and were envisioning the incredible richness and fecundity of life. All around us, tall cliffs towered over us like the buttresses of a gigantic natural castle in a submarine kingdom inhabited by colors, discrete fishes and amazing corals. We walked along a majestic canyon made up of reddish and green rocks, from which escaped fumaroles of vapors, bubbles, and colorful fireflies. Your thoughts were as pure as the waters we walked through. An incredible zest for life and brotherhood made us one. Magnificent. Like fine silver filaments, small beads of air escaped from our gills while the light drew beautiful and intricate reflections on our bodies. A few shellfish appeared, small crabs and crayfish immediately caught by one of the brothers for a feast of kings at the bottom of the oceans. As our need for air grew, we began a long, dizzying and fast vertical ascent, playing and twisting in spirals and convolutions. Our arrival at the surface was greeted by explosions of droplets, large jets of water and steam as our lungs filled with air. The sea that opened before us was immense, and I diluted myself among you to swim, jump, dive, and enjoy the caress of the water on our bodies. You swam beside me, pleased to have made me discover your forgotten kingdom. I was happy of this dive. It made me discover many wonders. Day after day, year after year, we traveled all the oceans of the world, passionately, greedily, amazed and joyful, united in our lives. As generations passed, as our lives passed, your children were born and grew, perpetuating the species and extending your memory. I am the bird. On a quiet, beautiful day, a white bird descended from the sky in an elegant and majestic flight. It was divine in the art of gliding and playing. With the slightest quiver of the air, it began to hover above us. Lying in the salt water, we observed it. It seemed to us to be a flickering light in the transparency of the water. Soon it came to skim over the waves, caressing the foam of the water with its immaculate wings, very close to our flippers. As a sign of friendship, we rounded our backs slightly out of the waves so that the bird could enchant us with its high-pitched calls. We were tracing parallel trajectories in our respective elements, air and water. Above us, the deep blue sky invited us to jump, swim, and fly. I felt my body transform. My flippers changed into wings, and I rose out of the waves, above my dolphin brothers, next to the bird of light. The sea winds carried me, and I floated at low altitude, brushing against the trails of foam and bubbles that were left by the wake of your flippers. It was your turn to burst out of the water, to free yourself from the liquid element and join me in the air for a moment in an incredible flight of aquatic animals. Your fins were flapping in the air, your eyes were mischievous. After a second that seemed like an eternity, you returned into the liquid. Like millions of years before, you returned to your oceans and your kingdom. A dive in perfect harmony. I observed your silhouettes in the transparency of the waves, playing one last time with them before disappearing into the ocean's blue-green. The immaculate bird rose higher, and I followed it instinctively in the coolness of the wind, discovering new sensations, letting myself be caressed by the air. My new friend had a pale yellow beak. It was long and slightly curved, which contrasted with the whiteness of its feathers. Its eyes were small hazelnut beads, constantly scrutinizing the waves under our belly. From our height, the ocean looked like a bluish splash, where the nurturing sun dipped its golden rays. I observed you at length as I followed your flight and knew how to recognize you by your sudden aerial drops, your laughter, and the elegance of your swimming as you pulled me into liquid depths. You were a bird of light and a magical fish, wealth of imagination, a life that changes appearances to guide us better. On several occasions, we descended near the waves to remember our marine escapades before reclaiming our place in the sky beside the clouds of our new ocean. Beyond the horizon, in the clouds and mist of the sea, the boundary between the ocean and the land appeared, thin strips of yellow sand and brown rocks splashed with foam. I went ahead in thought. I have always been a beach, the universal beach, virgin like the words, multiple and immortal, a delicate limit of the original element, transparent and pure. The marine winds came to caress me above the liquid wave, at the corners of my delicate eyes, lifting thousands of grains of sand into the clouds. The oceans are my eyes. The abyssal depths are my thoughts. You flew a long harmonious loop towards the welcoming, wet sand of my beach, while a gust of wind ruffled some of your feathers. Other white birds came to join us on the beach, trampling and tickling me with their small, hurried footsteps and webbed feet, pecking at the sand with their beaks in search of food and worms. I was born 5 billion years ago. My memory is full of precious seconds, recollections, and stories. Sometimes I speak with my sister planets. Like me, they revolve around our sun, and although they are invisible to you and seem very far away, they are close to me. We talk through our thoughts, exchange our emotions, talk about our words. We keep each other company, and they are my family. I have infinite luck, they tell me. I am infinitely lucky to have such a rich world in my bosom, full of beauty, life, and color. I am the most beautiful and pleasant little planet that spins and travels through space. The 100 or so birds with immaculate wings took flight in perfect harmony, like a cloud with changing shapes rising towards the sky. I returned to my aerial form and left with you, taking my place among your flapping wings at the heart of your formation. The beach had disappeared, and new landscapes were passing beneath our wings. Plains and forests, rivers, lakes and mountains, an abundance of greens, yellows, ochres, and blues. Laughing as you always did, you never took your eyes off me. A cackling, a squawk, and you would swoop down in a dizzying dive to breathe in the warm, fragrant air. We would spend the nights on tall tree tops, each perched on a branch, listening to life and the stories we would tell in our whistles. Sometimes we would keep on flying in the pale white light of a full moon, each one sleeping in turn, letting ourselves be carried as we glided through the air. You were taking me on an unknown migratory journey, a future that none of us could guess because it belonged to a consciousness that we could not imagine. We were sailing as high as we could, and the sky was a light, dark blue veil through which the stars shimmered. Our white feathers spread out over the world, while many immaculate clouds accompanied us. The colorful landscapes disappeared. A white world stretched around us. We were floating in a foggy, stringy, fuzzy sea in perfect, pure silence. The cold whipped our feathers. An island appeared among the clouds, huge, mysterious, and unexpected. A big rock covered with a snowy mantle, the top of the mountain, the roof of the world. We chose the steepest rocky peak, thrusting our webbed feet into the eternal snow. We became invisible in such whiteness. We stayed there, huddled together, resisting the cold, breathing extremely fresh air, happy and relieved after such a long journey. It was a moment of ecstasy, serenity, and silence. It lasted a second and a lifetime before our group took off again, gently numb, flapping its wings and struggling against the cold to float in the rarefied air. You, the immaculate bird, chose to fly towards colorful lands, plains and fields, forests and hills, continuing your journey through countless lives. I remained alone on the snowy summit of the mountain that the icy high winds swept to harden its mantle. I became a mountain. The continents are my ears. The highest peaks are my conscience. I am the mountain. The continents float like great rafts on my magma ocean. They vibrate, squeak, wiggle, and resonate. On these frail boats of land, mountains and plains, a host of animal species grow, thrive, and disappear. I feel the slightest gesture, the trampling of small animals, the vibration of an eyelash, the whispering of leaves, the growth of trees, and the rise of mountains. It's the sweet symphony of time. How many mountains rose up to touch the stars and then turned into huge plains, green and soft as a cloud-covered sky when they were worn out? How many useful and useless trampolines were made? How many paths were traveled? How many adventures were undertaken? How many luminous spirits and wonders were discovered? How many flowers have grown? How many lives have passed? From my mountain, I like to look at the immensity that stretches beyond my limits, the white, blue, and green of the earth, the deep black of the universe. I listen to the solitary song of the tiny bubble born in the depths of the ocean that rises. It will be a long journey before it breaks through the surface towards the heavens. I listen to the gliding of the snowflake that twirls down from the clouds, the crystalline cracking of its complex structure, the frost that freezes and shapes it before melting in my waters. I listen to the song of the earth. I am eternity. I was born 10 billion years ago. Try to imagine 10 billion years. Time passes and the sun swells, gets closer to me. I know that soon it will explode 1,000 times to take me with it. The mountain is no more. It has slowly worn out. All the snow has melted. My continents have been swallowed up. The bird of light, the magic fish, and all the other creatures have disappeared. Only a few moments of nostalgia remain. My gaze plunged into the stars, the movement of your thing, your feathers ruffling in the wind, and the wave that stretches over the beach. Today will last forever. I stopped spinning. I'm standing still to enjoy the show that's coming up. facing the sun. My face is becoming incandescent as the water of my oceans pours into space, evaporating jets of steam and frost, spreading out in space like silver hair. It doesn't hurt. I was born this way, incandescent in my heart, like my brothers and sisters, the sun and the stars. I am blazing in the universe. The benevolent light that was once our sun now occupies most of my vision. Space has become orange and yellow. All around me, my kind is burning intensely, and all of its matter is pouring into infinity. My turn is approaching. I am ready. Billions of years have passed, an eternity for the beings that have walked on my surface, a lifetime for our solar system, and a second for the universe. I remember the times when I was young, the countless years when it rained all the water in my oceans, the long lightning storms that illuminated my tormented atmosphere, the unimaginable abundance of all forms of ephemeral life. Ephemeral. I remember the canyons of fire at the bottom of the oceans, the secret world of dolphins, the fish bird, our parallel flights, the beauty of the moment. It's all gone, but it did happen. I remember. This memory, I kept it preciously deep inside of me, in each of my rocks, each drop of water, each grain of sand. All these experiences have been engraved, real and imaginary stories recorded for times to come. Tiny in the universe, I'm round, finite in infinity. I am Earth, our Earth, your Earth. I am me. The sun exploded and turned into an amazing glow of fire, instantly swallowing up all the planets of our solar system in a hot cloud of more than 10 million degrees. Matter melted, liquefied, became droplets, vapor, dust and atoms. All 6 trillion tons of our Earth's matter disappeared into space. Only a few atoms of our planetary system were left floating in the vacuum. A second later, there was nothing left. Our universe continued its work through the unstoppable cycle of creation. All this matter would one day be reused for some unknown, mysterious purpose. Deep down inside, I remember. I remember the earth, your gentle gaze, our imaginary escapades, the beach, the wave and the stars, our lives, beautiful and ephemeral. This journey was extraordinary, unique and precious because our lives, because life is only a small second in eternity. I remember, Earth, your sweet eyes, our imaginary escapades, wave and stars, our ephemeral lives.